in interesting times. Today's stories. Canada gives aid to families of Iran plane crash victims. Vancouver is ready to welcome the Royals. Some welcome relief for firefighters in Australia. Australian farmers add up the losses. Do you want to buy a used presidential plane? Saving Miami Beach in Florida. A community appreciation night in Vancouver helps accident victims. Winnipeggers send aid to people affected by Philippine volcano. A couple of world records. One involves a barrel, the other is a cake. Aircraft that can maneuver like a bird. In sports, a win for Toronto in National Lacrosse League play. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi with Eagle News broadcasting from our studio in Vancouver, Canada, bringing you stories from around the globe. The Canadian government is giving financial aid to the families of victims of the Iran plane crash. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the money is for funeral arrangements, travel to Iran, and other costs. Ottawa has said 57 of the passengers were Canadian citizens. Trudeau says another 29 were permanent residents. He adds that Canada was the final destination for 138 of the 176 passengers and crew on the Kiev-bound plane, including visitors and students. Trudeau, although he still expects Iran to compensate families of the victims, Canada is ready to help.
As a first step, the government will give families of the victims who are Canadian citizens or permanent residents $25,000 per victim to assist with their immediate needs, such as funeral arrangements and travel. This is a unique and unprecedented situation because of the international sanctions placed on Iran and the difficulties that imposes on these families.
The Prime Minister reiterated his promise to seek justice for the relatives of the victims.
And as we speak, Minister Champagne is in Oman, meeting with his Iranian counterpart to discuss how we can bring justice and accountability to the families of the victims. He is also reiterating Canada's call for de-escalation in the region.
Trudeau urged Iran to hand over black boxes from last week's downed airliner to France, saying it has one of the few laboratories capable of properly examining them. Royalty appears to be a hit in Vancouver. With news that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle plan to move to Canada, Vancouver residents seem ready to roll out the red carpet should they decide to settle in British Columbia. Vancouver resident Amy Nguyen couldn't contain her excitement in anticipation of the newcomer's arrival.
It'd be pretty dope to see Harry around, just like, whoa, it's a prince, kind of thing. But I think that it's good that they are getting away from the British tabloids and everything, because that was always a problem for them with the double standards and everything. So it's good that they're coming out here to get their privacy and just enjoy their life with their child.
Amy Naughton is on a work permit in Vancouver from Galway, Ireland. She thinks the Royals will be good for the city.
I think it's great for the media right now to get Vancouver's name in the media, but I do feel for the taxpayer if they're going to have to pay for them while they're here.
Pia Otterreed is less enthusiastic but says the Royals are welcome.
Oh sure, they can go wherever they like to. I guess they also have the money to move here, so why not? I'm not a particular fan, but I can't say that I like or dislike them in any way. So sure, everybody's welcome in Vancouver, I would say.
Vancouver resident Pravat Singh puts things in perspective. He says in the scheme of things, Meghan and Harry are not that big of a deal.
there are other many much more important things going in the world. Like Russia, entire parliament just resigned, and Trump is doing some crazy things. Iran is dying. I mean, so Meghan and Harry are my least worries. So yeah, so I have no thoughts. They can come here as long as we are not paying for them.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry spent 6 weeks on Vancouver Island over Christmas. Last week, Meghan visited 2 women's nonprofits in Vancouver. In Australia, firefighters on the country's east coast got some welcome relief. Heavy rain fell on bushfires late last week, giving those battling the blazes a major boost in the war against the bushfires. Following months of hot and dry weather that had fueled the fires, the heaviest rainfalls in nearly a decade were reported in some areas close to hotspots. These images show how much water fell. But the rain has completely missed Kangaroo Island, off the southern coast of the mainland that is famed for its pristine wilderness. Fires have devastated the national park on the island, wiping out much of its koala population and threatening to completely eradicate bird and other endemic marsupial species. The rain also created problems in the Australian Reptile Park in New South Wales. Flash floods hit the zoo. Staff at the park sprang into action after it was inundated with heavy rain. Here you can see them coping with the aftermath. Farmers on Australia's Kangaroo Island are adding up the losses due to brush fires. The fires have killed at least 43,000 head of cattle and sheep. Vast swaths of land used for grazing the animals has been scorched. Farmer Rick Morris says the losses are massive.
We've lost 2,000 acres of this property and 400 ewes, and I can say that we were one of the lucky ones. Yeah, we've never had anything on this property before. My father's never had to experience and go through this, which is surprising. We're surrounded by scrub. We're always prepared for a fire from the north, but this one came from a totally different direction. It's come from different directions.
He says no amount of preparation could have changed the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, we can prepare a little bit for fire, but nothing will prepare you for what happened on the 3rd of January.
Damien Cartwell, commander of the Bushfire Task Force, says the damage is unbelievable.
In many cases, as I've walked and moved around Kangaroo Island, I've seen the level of destruction which is still surprising me now. There's a lot of farmers who are in distress. A lot of community members are suffering. Some families have lost everything, and they're struggling to find out where they can move forward from here. So in addition to things like water, distribution of hay, teams that can help mend their fence lines and the like, I've also brought specialists to help with the mental health trauma, the medical issues that might arise, and all sorts of other specialists, including some of the vets, the Australian Defence Force vets, to help out with the care and recovery of the wildlife as they've been brought in from some of the damaged areas.
Kangaroo Island's agriculture industry is worth $100 million, and farming is the island's biggest employer. Mexico's president really watches the country's wallet. Since taking office in December 2018, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador has refused to use the presidential plane. He hasn't been able to find a buyer for the Boeing Dreamliner. Now he has come up with a new plan. Obrador says not even Donald Trump has a plane as luxurious as Mexico's. It seats 80 people and is worth about $130 million. So what's Obrador's plan? He's proposed raffling it off. The president proposed selling 6 million tickets at a cost of 500 pesos each. That works out to about $25 a piece. Obrador says that would net the government about $150 million. He says the keys to the aircraft will be turned over to the winner, adding he may throw in a year or two of operating services. He also proposed trading it to the U.S. government for medical supplies, renting it, selling it to a group of 12 Mexican business executives, or accepting an existing offer of $125 million from an American buyer. Up next, preserving Miami Beach. Accident victims get a helping hand from people attending a community outreach. Help for people affected by Philippine volcano. Life in a barrel. You can have your cake and a world record too. This is Eagle News. You're watching Eagle News. Work is underway to save Miami Beach from rising sea levels. Dozens of trucks are dumping thousands of tons of sand as part of a U.S. government measure to protect Florida's tourist destinations from the effects of climate change. Stephen Leatherman, a professor at Florida International University, is known as Dr. Beach. Leatherman says the situation is serious.
Florida, really South Florida, is considered the ground zero for climate change. I mean, not only do we have beach erosion, we got flooding going on during king tides, which happen all too often now. With global warming, it's anticipated that the rate of sea level rise is going to increase. It's going to go up faster, which means the rate of beach erosion is going to increase. So if this beach starts eroding 2 or 3 or 4 feet per year, not even counting erosion hotspots, the cost is going to be exponentially higher, maybe astronomically higher.
And Leatherman says if steps aren't taken to preserve Miami Beach, the region will pay a steep price.
The beach is so important to us. Without this beach, people will start going somewhere else. I mean, yeah, you got the view, but no beach. People aren't going to come here in the great numbers. In fact, something like 15 to 20 million people a year come to Miami Beach. It's far more than Grand Canyon, all our famous parks, you know. This is the place to be.
The sand is coming from inland Florida. By June, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will have dumped 233,000 cubic meters of sand. The price tag, $16 million. In Vancouver, people taking part in a community appreciation night came to the aid of some accident victims. With that story, Eagle News correspondent Arnie Aquino.
We're here at Elgin Hall in Surrey, where despite the cold weather, members of the Church of Christ gathered together to appreciate the neighborhood and extend a helping hand. Located in South Surrey, Elgin Hall is one of the oldest community halls in the city, built in 1923 by the Elgin community. Today, the Iglesia Ni Cristo is holding a community appreciation event right here in this hall full of history. As an extension of the INC's campaign, My Countrymen, My Brethren, members of the church group is handing out gift packages to appreciate those in the community.
So this event this evening is our evangelical mission with Aid to Humanity under the banner, My Countrymen, My Brethren, wherein we give them relief goods in order to help them out, most especially in this season where it's frigid cold and it's also snowing, and allowing the people to know that the members of the Church of Christ, we love them. We want to take care of them every way we can. Well, the Iglesia Ni Cristo holds events like this because wherever you go, not only in the Philippines, but even here in Canada, British Columbia, here in Surrey, there are people who are suffering from poverty, people who are begging for food, people who are suffering from hunger. And when it comes to this, with the blessings that we receive from our Lord God, we can't just stand by and watch them, but must do everything that we can to help them out.
However, just outside the hall, a different event was unfolding. An accident caused in part by the unfavorable weather.
There was a guy coming down the left lane, and he was close on the right lane. It was a Chevy pickup truck, it was like a Chevy 2500, and it was on the right lane, like over the yellow line. So Robbie kind of turned over a bit, and then not realizing there was mud there. Then when he tried to come out of the mud, it's a front-wheel drive Honda Civic, right? So the front tires started gliding, and then he hit the brakes, and it just sent him straight. And we hit that big curb, and then hit the wall. But
part of the My Countrymen, My Brethren campaign of the Iglesia Ni Cristo is giving aid to those who need it. This incident was another chance for this organization to help. What a day to be in the right place at the right time.
Well, just earlier during our evangelical mission, just so happens that there was a car that lost control because of the frigid cold weather and also the slippery conditions that actually fell into a ditch. And after the evangelical mission, we noticed that when we opened the doors, there were emergency crews, and also when it comes to firefighters who were there. And we noticed that there was a car there in the ditch, and 3 men who were outside without jackets and cold and freezing, and also under that very stressful and difficult situation. So what we decided to do was get some goodie bags and also relief. And we went out there, even though we don't know them, we never met them before, but it's enough to know that they're in need. We reached out to them, we gave them help, they appreciated it. It was really cold outside. We even invited them in and also gave them some food and also some beverages to be able to enjoy our hospitality in the midst of this cold weather.
They invited us with open arms, like they wanted us to come, and they have positive input. So it is a very, it's a well put community, I'd say, and it has very good outlooks.
Well, it feels nice. Like you just have a car accident, now you got people coming with you with like gift baskets and everything. Like it's just super nice, right?
This campaign, led by the church's executive minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo, is part of their global initiative to connect people of different ethnicities and cultural backgrounds together in faith and friendship.
Arnie Aquino, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
A Manitoba church group reached out to the Philippines following a volcano eruption last week. Details on that from Eagle News correspondent Amy Plamenco.
The ashes of the Taal volcano has brought worry to the lives of many Filipinos. Homes lost, livestock ruined, and livelihoods now in question. Many are left to wonder what to do next. With the threat of a possible larger eruption looming in the minds of many, some think, how can they help those who are in need? In a matter of minutes, many stores across Metro Manila and other provinces ran out of basic goods to sell, including a now necessity, face masks. This puts many at risk, as the volcanic ash can be very harmful. Meanwhile, members of the Church of Christ in Manitoba here in Canada moved quickly and purchased face masks to be donated and sent to the Philippines. Young church members created handmade cards with well wishes and kind words for the victims of the Taal eruption. Messages in the card read, "Stay strong and be brave, and to always put your trust in God." Amy Plamenco, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Here is the story of a South African man trying to break his own Guinness World Record. 52-year-old Vernon Kruger holds the record for the longest duration pole sitting in a barrel. Let's meet him.
Hello everyone, I'm Vernon Kruger and welcome to my home in the sky. This is where I live. This is what it looks like.
Kruger is a commercial diver. His previous record of 67 days was set 22 years ago in 1997. What are some of the challenges Kruger faces?
Sleeping in this barrel is not very easy. I've had a lot of cramps and pain in my back since I've been up here. It's a very small place to curl up in, and I have to lie in a fetal position. I do wash. I have a little basin that I fit in here, and then I wash, say twice a week. I'll have a bath.
And how does that work?
There is a drain, the hole, where all the washing water and all the waste goes down there. And there's a little basin that fits on here when I need it.
This is not a one-man effort. Kruger says he has a lot of help on the ground.
It does get a bit frustrating up here, especially because I can't do many things for myself. I have to rely on the ground crew. I need to rely on other people for absolutely everything.
But how does he communicate with his crew?
And my two-way radio, just some things I keep here, my cell phones, and a little night light.
The obvious question is, why does he do this? Kruger is raising funds for two charities, Epilepsy South Africa and SAVF Belfast Children's Home. Another world record I want to tell you about was set in southern India. Hundreds of bakers and chefs worked together to create what they say is the world's longest cake. The finished cake is 6 1.5 kilometers long. That is more than twice the length of the previous Guinness record set by Chinese bakers in 2018. About 1,500 people created this vanilla cake. It took about 4 hours to put together, and it stretched out on thousands of tables and desks at a fairground and adjoining roads. The cake was 10 meters wide and thick. It weighed about 27,000 kilograms. The bakers used 12,000 kilograms of sugar and flour. Large crowds watched the event. It was organized by the Bakers Association of Kerala, which says it wanted to showcase the skills of its members to the world. Still to come, aircraft that can fly like a bird. And in sports, lacrosse play in Toronto. You're watching Eagle News. This is Eagle News. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi. Since the dawn of the aviation era, inventors have strived to build aircraft that fly as nimbly as birds. They dreamed of morphable wings to allow for faster, tighter turns and more efficient gliding. That dream is a step closer to reality thanks to the work of researchers at Stanford University. The scientists studied the wings of common pigeon cadavers. They then used their findings to build a radio-controlled pigeon bot with wings made with 40 real feathers. This unidentified researcher describes how the gadget works.
This joint programmed to this knob symmetrically, so those will move together.
Yep.
And then the finger joints here, I can control independently with these sliders.
Wonderful. Yeah, so this is...
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, on take.
Engineering professor David Lintink says aerospace and materials engineers can now start rethinking how they can design, manufacture, and control materials and wings that morph as deftly as birds do. Toronto downed Rochester in National Lacrosse League play. Details from Eagle News correspondent Riza Mangilit.
In an early season North Division showdown in the National Lacrosse League, the Toronto Rock defeated the Rochester Nighthawks 13-12. Rob Hellier and Zach Mans scores 3 goals each to help bring victory to Toronto. The second game of the home-and-home series was a wild one. Although the Rock won the first game 14-11 at the end of December, the Nighthawks jumped out to an early 3-1 lead after the first quarter. Holden Catoni scored his first of 5 goals in the game to start off the scoring. The Rock fired back in the second quarter, outscoring Rochester 5-4, with Rob Hellier scoring 2 goals before halftime. Hellier got his hat trick to open the third quarter, with Zach Mans adding 2 goals for the Rock to take the lead 10-9 heading into the fourth quarter. Toronto held onto the lead despite a late goal by Phil Caputo, bringing the Nighthawks within 1 goal of tying the game. Rock goaltender Nick Rose was crucial in holding the lead and registered 30 saves on the day. The loss by Rochester keeps them winless on the season and in last place in the North Division. Toronto, meanwhile, stayed within 1 game of first place Halifax for the division lead. Raza Mangirit, Eagle News, 1/25.
That is this week's Eagle News. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi. I'm 1/25.